It is December 30th. We're just about at the end of the year, and this is when a lot of YouTubers will make their year in review videos. Well, I'm no exception. My name is Howie. This is Positively Portugal. Let's get into it. So, the heart of the matter here is that 1 month ago today, on November 30th, I arrived in Guimarães, Portugal. And yeah, I guess you could pretty much wrap up the video after that, but I don't want to minimize the struggle that I went through. As a lot of you who watch my videos know, this is not an easy process. So, like any normally told story, we're going to start at the beginning of the year. I knew when 2024 started that this is going to be the craziest year of my life. And I was completely correct. It was. No surprises there. But in March, I made a video stating that I have to push my date of moving back. I was originally going to move on May 1st, and it just didn't work out. I kind of ran out of time. There were a lot of factors, a lot of variables. I wasn't ready professionally. I wasn't ready financially. And I just didn't have enough time to deal with VFS and the apartment and getting everything together. So I knew right away that I had bitten off more than I could chew, and I had to push it back, the date that I'm moving. A month later, I made the decision that I was not going to move to Portimao. I decided that it was going to be easier, it was going to be better for me, better for my cat, if I moved to Lisbon. And yeah, it would definitely be better for my cat. It would have been an easier journey for him. And just so you know, he's completely fine now. He made it to Guimarães, and it was a journey. He went from Tampa to Amsterdam to Porto. Then when I finally got him at the airport, we took a bolt to Guimarães. So, yeah, it was quite an experience for him, but he's good now. But, it didn't work out with Lisbon. And I guess I shouldn't have been surprised by that. Lisbon's not the same city that it used to be. It's gotten very expensive. It's getting closer to the standards of, say, Madrid and Barcelona, as opposed to smaller cities in Portugal. You can still get an apartment there for 800 euros a month, but I didn't want one. And I'll admit, Lisbon's my favorite city in the world. I mean, that's not even an admission. Anyone who's watched my videos knows that. How much I love Lisbon. But the reason I was moving to Portugal was for a better cost of living. I mean, there are a lot of reasons, but that was my primary reason. And I just didn't think that it would have made sense for me to go to Lisbon. I could have gotten an 800 euro a month apartment. At the time, the dollar is not doing as well as it is now, so that pretty much would have been $900 a month. And sure, that's still better than the $1,600 a month that I was paying for rent in St. Petersburg, Florida. But I just felt I could do better. When I started planning this, you could get an apartment in Lisbon for under 800 euros a month. And don't get me wrong, you still can. It's possible, but you're not going to like that apartment. You're going to be living in basically a shoebox, something that might be 25, 30 square meters. You might be in an area you don't want to live in, like Amadora. You might be in a situation that you don't like. Take, for example, being on the ground floor. That's something I can't stand. You're talking about somebody who grew up in an 11th floor apartment, and the ground floor was just not appealing to me. When I was living in Florida, I lived in a townhouse, and yeah, there's an upstairs, but you entered from the ground floor, and I never got used to that. Never. So, yeah, I mean, I definitely could have moved to Lisbon, and when the apartment search was underway, I was offered an apartment in Amadora, and I wasn't doing that. I've worked too hard in my life. I've planned this way too meticulously to just go to a place like Amadora. It wasn't going to happen. Now, I'm from the Bronx in New York City originally, and I can tell you for a fact that where I grew up would make anybody living in Amadora break down and cry. I'm not afraid of Amadora at all, but I've just reached a point in my life where I expect better things. So, yeah, I could have gotten a smaller apartment, but same thing. I'm too old to live in a shoebox. It just wasn't going to happen. The smallest apartment I ever lived in was about 475 square feet, which is 44 square meters. So there was no way in the hell that I was going to go for 44 or less. And that kind of essentially just ruled out a Lisbon apartment. I'm probably never going to live in Lisbon. How do I feel about that? I don't know. Talk to me in a few months. We'll see what happens with me in Guimarães. But I wasn't too worried because I said to myself, well, okay, if it's not going to work out in Lisbon, I could just revert back to Portimao. But something that a lot of people don't really talk about is that, yeah, Lisbon's gotten more expensive, but I actually think that the Algarve is moving at a faster rate to unaffordability. Now, for the most part, I shouldn't say for the most part, because I'm just comparing Lisbon and Portimao. Lisbon is still more expensive than Portimao, but there are places in the Algarve that are more expensive than Lisbon. I wasn't really interested in those places, like, say, for example, Lagos. It was either going to be Portimao or maybe Tavira. Maybe I could have done Albufeira. And Faro is always going to be appealing simply because that's where the airport is. But Portimao was still the most affordable city out of those options. And even then, prices were going up very quickly. And it was a noticeable difference from just 1 year previously. And then when the time came to actually look for an apartment, I began it in the second week of July. I came to the realization that nobody's looking for me. I'm looking to get a permanent apartment, a year-long lease. But in the summer, I'm not needed. Not in the Algarve. People are looking for seasonal renters, and that just wasn't going to be me. Maybe if I had begun the search, say, in November, I would have had more success. I did get offered an apartment in Portimao, but the timing was just not there. They wanted me to basically pay for 4 months in which I was not going to live there, in addition to the deposit, and it was just a hard no. It wasn't going to work out. But I still wasn't worried because I said to myself, well, I've been to Porto twice, and although Porto was not really my city, it was very livable, second biggest city in Portugal, all the amenities you could ever want or need. Yeah, I could have lived in Porto. Okay, so found out quickly Lisbon, for all its problems, even if I could get past those things, it still wasn't going to happen because Lisbon's the hottest real estate market in the world. The moment an apartment goes up for grabs, gets listed on places like Idealista or elsewhere, it's gone immediately. The only way you're getting that apartment is if you're there to sign the lease right then and there with either the landlord or the realtor. And it wasn't happening in the Algarve. There were some places in Porto that caught my eye, but no one ever got back to me or to the company that was helping me move to Portugal. And I guess it's because Porto is, well, it's not as hot of a real estate market as Lisbon, but it's not far off. That's another thing where the secret is out now about Porto. People like it. It's extremely popular. It might not be my city. That's not to say that I'm never going to live there, because I might. But if everything was equal, you gave me a choice between Lisbon and Porto, I'm taking Lisbon all day, every day. So there were other things that I had to take into account. I thought I was going to use an international mover. Well, I found the best rated international mover, and they were based in Florida, not far from where I was living. And they finally gave me a really reasonable quote. I liked it a lot. I was definitely going to use them. The problem was it took me 4 tries to get that quote from them. And then I tried them 2 more times to get a contract. And just, it wasn't happening. They weren't sending it. So there were 6 phone calls made from me to them. They never returned any of my calls. And I just said to myself, well, there's not going to be a 7th attempt. I'm just not going to use a mover, and I'm basically going to start over in many aspects and not take the majority of my crap with me. But what that did was that opened up the door for other cities. I said, okay, well, I've never been to Braga, but I know that's a big city. It's near Porto. I can check that out. And it just wasn't happening. Didn't find the kind of apartment that I was interested in there. I thought, well, Aveiro is between Porto and Lisbon, closer to Porto, but I get easier access to Lisbon, and I know that Aveiro is a beautiful little city. And the same thing was happening, what happened in Porto. Nobody ever got back to me or the company that was helping me move to Portugal. Time was running out. This has been going on for about 7 weeks now. I didn't have a place to live. My VFS appointment was on September 4th in Miami. And finally, as a last resort, and I hate saying that, last resort, because it makes it seem like it's a place I don't want to be, and that's not true, but that last resort was in Guimarães. I got lucky. I have a nice apartment. I love the city of Guimarães. I'm having a great time here. I've been here 1 month now. I've made friends. I'm a socio of the local football club, Vitória. And that all worked out really well. So it took 10 weeks to get my visa. 10 weeks. It was only supposed to take 3 weeks. And everything was like at the last second. Nothing about this went smooth. And I've hammered home this point on this channel before. That's not through any fault of the company that was helping me move to Portugal. It was just the nature of the beast. Portugal is inundated with applications for visa, people trying to move here. And I'm guessing that things got even worse after Donald Trump got reelected as president of the United States. But nothing about this is easy. My hair went pretty gray. Stress was through the roof. There were times I said to myself, what the hell am I doing? It would have just been so much easier to just continue my life in a situation that I hated, that I was paying too much money to live in. And finally, everything came together. I think the 2 hurricanes that we had in Florida helped me to just get past everything and say to myself, yeah, you know, this is the move that I needed to make. So I got my visa finally, and the packing, that came together quickly. A lot of throwing out, a lot of aggravation. I left Florida. I've been saying here that it was a situation I hated and I was paying too much money. Well, yeah, I was paying too much money and the situation was bad at the time, but I loved Florida. Florida became a second home to me after growing up in New York. Whereas I lived in other states and I didn't connect with these other states the way that I did in Florida. So I left a piece of myself, a piece of my heart in Florida. I spent my last week in the United States back home in New York. And by the time that week was up, I couldn't wait to get to Portugal. You talk about a place that just isn't me anymore. I'm the complete polar opposite of New York City. And I'm proud to be from New York. But what I tell people now is that New York is the best place in the world to be from. You don't want to live there now. So yeah, it's been a month now in Portugal. And, when I got here, I said to myself, I'm going to be doing so much traveling right away. I'm going to go to Lisbon, spend time in my favorite city. I'm going to go to Porto. I'm going to go to Spain. Well, I'm freezing my ass off. So I'm not traveling anywhere until the weather gets warm. That'll be in the spring. I didn't take that into account. Living the last 9 years in a place that has no winter, and you're coming to a country that is notorious for cold apartments. So I've been in Guimarães the whole time, minus that quick little trip that I took to Porto to go to the airport to pick up my cat. And, we'll talk about unfulfilled promises from 2024 in relation to this channel. Recently, when I was at the airport in Newark, New Jersey, I made a video saying, there's going to be, I'm going to give you a tour of my apartment. And then I got to my apartment, I settled in, and I said to myself, who the hell wants to see where I live? It's a standard apartment. I mean, is there anybody who really wants to see my toilet? So I just started thinking, I've seen apartment tour videos on YouTube before, and I think they're moronic. So I changed my mind about that. I'm not going to be doing an apartment tour because why the hell would you care? Honestly. I have a bedroom, I have a living room, I have a bathroom. What's cool is there's a sleep loft, but I can't use the sleep loft because of how vertical the ladder is. You can get up safely, but you can't get down safely. So, yeah, nobody needs to see my apartment. I mean, why would you care? In August, I made a football video, after Braga fired their manager after 4 games in total, just 1 league game. It's a very corrupt football club. I said I was going to make a video that's kind of investigative and talk about Braga's history and who owns them and where they're going. But about a month or so ago, I found somebody else who does Portuguese football videos. He made a video that kind of detailed everything in Braga. I think it was a little sympathetic to them. I would not have been as easy on them as he was. But if you want to see a decent channel about Portuguese football, aside from my own. Not that I'm anything to write home about. But there's a guy named Throne FC. And I'll spell that for you. It's THRONEFC. Now, I don't know this guy. He doesn't know me. But I respect him. I think he does a hell of a job. So if you want a perspective on Portuguese football other than mine, I would definitely recommend watching his channel. So I don't think I have any other unfulfilled promises from this channel or unfulfilled promises from 2024. I did everything that I wanted to do. I accomplished the goal. I moved to Portugal. I did what I said I was going to do. There were a lot of bumps in the road. That car broke down a couple of times, but I got here. And looking forward to 2025. There are a lot of adventures that I'm planning already. Oh, you know what? I thought of one other unfulfilled promise. I said I was going to do walking tours, street tours of Guimarães. Yeah, it's a little too cold for that. I'm sorry. I can't even take this phone out for more than a few minutes to shoot video of the castle. I'm too cold to do that. So, yeah, those are all the unfulfilled promises. But anyway, looking forward to 2025. I'm finally in Portugal. I love it here. I'm staying here. I don't have any intention of leaving. But that being said, look, we'll see where everything goes. You can't predict the future. I don't intend to leave Portugal, but you never know. Whether or not I stay in Guimarães, that's still up in the air. I guess if I leave, it would probably be for Porto at this point in time. Unless I find the perfect apartment deal in either Lisbon or Portimao. But I think there's a greater than 50-50 chance that I'm going to be staying in Guimarães. And the reason I would say Porto if I leave is because I'd be close to Guimarães, where I can't say that I've made it a home already, but I can say that I have Guimarães in my heart. I'm very thankful for the way that the people here have accepted me, and it's been nothing but a great experience in Guimarães. But we're going to have a lot more videos in 2025, and they're going to be more interesting than this video was. These year in review videos, I think they're kind of self-serving. I guess people like them because they do well for other YouTubers, but I always try to really make it clear that I'm not the star of the show. Portugal is. So, as always, I want to thank you all for watching. If you want more videos about moving to Portugal, the process of getting here, Portuguese football, anything Portugal related, please like the video, leave a comment, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. All of these things are the best ways that you could help a content creator on YouTube. Again, thank you all for watching. Have a safe, happy, and healthy new year. And we'll be back here in a few days. Have a good one, everybody.